I've been asking myself that for years, because whenever people say words like rich, silky, smooth, dainty, angelic, warm, Black girls usually come to mind. Those are usually adjectives given to Black girls. But there's a still association between us and masculinity, and I think I know why. For one, I think it's the association between like good and bad, light and dark, femme and masc, and because we are darker skin, we tend to be masculine because of that association. Untrue, just like things people think of. Two, it's the association between masculinity and African facial features. Like having more prominent, dominant facial features tends to be associated with men as opposed to women, European beauty standards. But three, and most under-recognized, it's because we do so much labor. When white girls talk about like fighting for the right to work, they're not talking about us. We've been working the whole time. Society has associated masculinity with working while also making Black women work their finger to the bone for generations.
I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Black women are the only women that will be hypersexualized while simultaneously being hypermasculinized. A perfect example of this is Megan Thee Stallion. How men will fetishize her for her beauty and her body, yet justify Tory Lanez shooting her because, she's aggressive and threatening. Another example, this one man commented on my page and I had to block him immediately because I just don't have the patience, quite frankly. He literally said if I wasn't a masculine, promiscuous seductress, that men will respect me more and that I should try being more feminine and submissive. Masculine, promiscuous seductress.
Child, let me tell you something about these men that say Black women are too masculine. You don't even take care of your own women in your own country coming over here trying to take these white men wives. Get your ass out of here. Y'all be coming over here. Let me tell you something. Y'all be coming over here from other countries trying to get you a European woman. And some of y'all be coming over here from other countries trying to get you a European mother man. Black women do not give a fuck. Let me tell you something. I don't give a damn. I'm a lion. I'm a lioness to a lion. By nature, I'm born to hunt. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm a queen to a king by nature. We don't, and they're like, oh, y'all take for granted what you have naturally. When it's natural to you, we don't work as hard for it. Like you have to. If you don't get that damn Viper, if you don't have that bank account, if you ain't got them credit cards, if you ain't got that fine, ain't nobody checking on you. How many checks? Y'all be kicking out so many checks to them wives. Them wives do all of that to get in that door. Once they get in that door and they got you, and once they got that check, they cut you off. You gotta wait you might get some once a month, once every 3 months. You got to go out and pay for extra. Yeah, you got to go out there and pay for it. Because if you don't pay for it, you ain't getting none. And the only reason that Black woman sell it to you is because she hustling. And all Black women ain't gonna sell you nothing. Honey, half of y'all won't even get no attention if you wasn't cutting a check of some sort. Honey, the best actors in the world is a female. But let me be the first to tell you, we don't feel the way you think we feel about you.
Why are Black women more likely to have their femininity contested and are still falsely perceived to be more masculine? Let's talk about it. To understand the history of this, we have to go way back, because while myths are spread undermining the image of both Black men and women were doubly discredited. As early as the 16th century, early European explorers who had made their way to Africa would comment on the anatomical features of the populations they encountered. Their dramatized stories were seen as fact and informed some of the first European perceptions of African people. To these imperialist travelers, the dark skin, wide lips, and nose of some indigenous populations resembled those of apes, so they started saying that Africans engaged in sex with them. This imperial rhetoric that animalized African populations was used to justify their enslavement. It classified them as other and paved the way for the dehumanization and sexual exploitation of both Black men and women brought to the New World. In fact, colonial pseudoscientific investigations suggested that Black people were subhuman and less evolved than white Europeans. But this is just the beginning. I haven't gone to forced colonial gender division, so stay tuned for part 2.
One thing you'll never hear me arguing about is people thinking I'm masculine because I'm a Black woman. Listen, I refuse to use my energy arguing with people on why Black women don't need to be seen as masculine. I think a lot of people say Black women are masculine, and to some degree, if you say shit long enough, you start to believe it. But do people really think Black women are the picture of masculinity? Absolutely not. Because no matter what race or gender someone is, or anything in between race or gender, when they want to present themselves as more feminine, when they want to be more female or woman presents, who do they imitate? Who do they display caricatures of? You, Black woman. So I see so many people on TikTok of all races and genders trying to sound like black women, trying to act like black women. And we not dumb, so we know what that means. I'll never believe people don't think of us as the blueprint.
Left exclusively by black people, mostly black women. And they were left.
So in the video as Stitch, if you click on his profile to the first video, I highly recommend you watch. Basically, a person asks, be genuine, why do you not like black women? And he goes on to say, black women don't allow him to fully be a man, i.e. he comes in, calls the shots. Black women aren't submissive enough to allow that, and they can be aggressive as well. Now, my first problem is, as black women and other women of color, we gotta stop asking the question of, are you attracted to me? Why don't you like black women? Why you don't like me? Because it comes across as desperation and low-key a projection of your insecurities. Because something my mom has always told me is, do not go somewhere that you're unwanted. Do not beg for attention of a man that does not want you. Go where you're wanted, go where you're loved, and I promise you, of the millions of people on this planet, in the same breath that a man says he does not like black women, there's a man that loves and will only devote his time and energy to a black woman. Find you that person instead of asking men who have explicitly stated you're not his type, why am I not your type? Because again, it comes across as desperate and sad. We're better than that. 2, the question people are not asking, why are black women so masculine, so aggressive, is a question of why. There's a reason for everything. Historically, black women were not given the privilege to be housewives, stay-at-home moms that only tend to the kids, to their garden, cooking meals for their husband that get home from a long day of work. Unfortunately, many of our men are incarcerated or dead or literally were removed from our households to where we were taking over a household under our own hands. And thus, we had to adapt and pick up qualities that our male partner would exhibit to keep the household alive and well. And that means developing some masculine tendencies because we were not given the privilege to be feminine. And consequently, those behaviors, that adaptation has transcended through multiple generations. Now of 2020, we still have women that feel as if they have to lead in that sort of way. Not to speak for other ethnic groups, but Latinas, they're the good type of feisty and spicy stereotype that I'm sure they hate as well. They still have the honor and privilege to be housewives because their husbands are at home, their husbands are working long hours, and so they do their part to hold the household down as a housewife or stay-at-home mom does. So although I hate that that's our stereotype, there is a reason for it. And so instead of down talking black women for being so masculine, ask yourself why and how to navigate through that and make some changes. Even mothers now, try to teach your daughters currently to be more feminine and not carry out those roles.
Why are black women so masculine?
A lot of modern women have become too masculine for marriage.
First, we have to examine the origins of how black women were viewed in American society during slavery. Angela Davis wrote in her Legacy of Slavery, Standards for a New Womanhood. Proportionately, more black women have always worked outside their homes than have their white sisters. The enormous space that work occupies in black women's lives today follows a pattern established during the very earliest days of slavery. As slaves, compulsory labor overshadowed every aspect of women's existence. Additionally, the notion that enslaved black women had the luxury of being relegated to domestic work is false. Similar to enslaved men, slave women were generally field workers. The only time slave women actually had access to their femininity was when they were raped or used as breeders. So as we examine masculinity and femininity in a contemporary way, we have to acknowledge that neither black men nor women can actually reach the standards set by a white supremacist society. So right now, a lot of you are trying to assimilate into a system that is built to exclude you and harm you. The modern idea of femininity is inextricably linked to white supremacy, because in order for modern day femininity to exist, it required the subjugation of Black people to accomplish it. The only reason white women could exist in softness and domesticity is because of profit derived from the slave economy. So please, stop holding Black women to standards of white supremacy, because it's actually exhausting.